Howdy, I'm Nate Large, and in this video I'm going to show you this PM1000 Table Saw by Powermatic and give you some of my opinions. Before I get too far into it, I want to say that this is not a sponsored video and the opinions expressions here are my own. Furthermore, I do want to say that this saw I do believe is a buy with a small caveat. And that caveat is that it does not have SawStop technology. And this is really a contentious point in the woodworking community, to SawStop or not. The argument, of course, being that as if you have a SawStop, you are going to be lax on your safety protocols. And if you don't have a SawStop, you're going to be stringent and more focused on your safety protocols. Personally, I think safety is up to the user. And while I love my Powermatic table saw, some part of me does wish I got a SawStop. But maybe if I got a SawStop, I would think otherwise. What does one get when they buy a PM1000 table saw? Well, starting from kind of what's inside the box, you get this large cabinet saw with many cast iron parts. And you also get a low profile riving knife, a blade changing tool, a cheap plastic push stick, a blade guard system, anti-kickback paws, and another riving knife to be able to hold these nice safety features. You do have an AccuFence by Powermatic, which is a nice smooth sliding fence. You get a miter gauge, which is able to go 60 degrees either way. And it also comes with this nice aluminum T-track bar in order to be able to add jigs to your miter gauge easily. The powerhouse of this machine can be found inside the cabinet, a 1 3/4 horsepower motor, which runs off of a mere 115 volt. Pretty convenient. On the sides of the cabinet, we could find two 7-inch cast iron wheels with nice handles. These are for adjusting blade height and blade angle. The large wheels make going up and down a smooth operation with kinetic motion. The splitter angles with the saw and goes up and down with it in accordance to its height because it is mounted with the saw. The blade guard itself here has two independent floating leaves, so that way it ensures that as much of the blade is covered as possible when it's being used. It should be noted that this blade right here is actually a thin curved blade, which I cannot use in association with either this splitter or this splitter, the two that come with the saw. There is a third splitter available, which has to be purchased separately, that will allow you to use a thin curved blade. That being said, I do think, and it's my personal preference, that a full curved blade is what you should be using with a true cabinet saw like this. There are a few exceptions to that, but I don't think that conversation is for this video. The saw comes with a nice large button for on-off. The green indicator light tells you there is power. You pull the large red circle and it turns the saw on, and you can bump it or push it with your hand in order to turn it off. Additionally, we have a nice little safety key here, which will keep any accidental on-offs from happening. On the back side, we have a 4-inch dust port, which will collect dust directly from the saw shroud. Here's a look inside the cabinet. You can see the light coming in through the dust port hose, and that goes all the way up here to the shroud that the saw is inside. Having turned the saw off, I'm going to remove the insert plate, which is a really convenient plate with multiple set screws in order to adjust it to a nice flush finish. And it's easy to remove because it just has these little contact balls that depress into a recess to hold it still. Inside here, we can see this quick release lever. When the saw is all the way up outside the shroud, we'll be able to move it like so and quickly remove the riving knife. We'll close that. Next, I'll show you removing the saw. could do that with this simple tool. Just put that right on the arbor nut. And on this side of the saw, you have a little red button, and you'll depress that into the caveat inside this wheel. Okay, there it is, right there. And that locks it stationary. And then carefully, we're gonna go ahead and it's gonna go towards the front. Once it's broken loose, use your thumb to remove it the rest of the way, making sure not to drop the nut, because then you're gonna have to go digging through here in order to find it. Goodness. Nice heavy nut. A little stabilizer contact plate. And there we have our saw blade. With a little help from this light, we can see inside this shroud where the saw operates and see how the dust collection port way down there helps to really minimize dust. Some closing advice on buying a full cabinet saw. If you're not picking it up yourself with your own trailer, understand that it'll be delivered to your house most likely on a tractor trailer with a large trailer, up to 53 feet in the USA. And that those trailers sometimes don't have loading ramps, and they'll be expecting to go to a dock. So when you purchase a saw, make sure you say that you want a ramp if you don't have something to get that crate or pallet off of a truck yourself. So the saw is not going to come fully assembled. The motor was assembled and mounted. All I had to do really was put these extension tables on right here. The wooden extension table was also put on later when I had put on the rail system for the fence. So, and additionally, I had to put on a few small little metal pieces on the outside of the cabinet and the wheels for adjusting blade height and angle. To summarize, I believe this is a high quality cabinet saw that is a good buy for most woodworkers. I don't believe it's necessary to have SawStop technology, so therefore you won't have to pay SawStop prices. However, just make sure you're doing all that you can do to have a safe work environment, removing the key when not in use, using the blade guards as much as possible, and using push blocks and push sticks and feather boards.